Woo! Here we are with part 2 of Surf's Up Kinstretch series for you. Today's going to be a short board, a shorty class going over just a few conditioning movements for the hips, specifically in your squat position, very important when you're trying to jump upright onto a surfboard. For your shoulders, both arms at once, very important for when you're paddling. And finally, for your toes and your foot strength. So to help us do that, all you're going to need is a schmancy bath towel. Doesn't have to be fancy, but it should be the size of a bath towel if possible. You can get away with a smaller one, but the big one will be extra nice. And also just some floor space. Enough room so that you can lay fully flat and kind of reach your arms out to the side. So kind of yoga mats worth of space with some reach. With that, let's go ahead and just get warmed up a bit and before we dive into our series. To start here, you can lean back against something if you'd like. We're going to just focus in on the feet. So a little bend in the knees. And then pull those feet up into a gas pedal up position. So you feel the fronts of your shins working. You feel your ankles are in end range dorsiflexion, and you're going to do your best to keep that shape of your ankle the whole time. And then staring down those toes, start to curl your toes all the way over, feeling that all 5 toes really contribute to the mix, and squeeze them, scrunch them into a fist as much as you can before your ankle loses that gas pedal up position. And just hold here for a moment. You're really trying to feel how much can you round the bottom of your foot, again, into that fist shape, and you really might flirt with a cramp in the bottom of your feet. Okay, just hold it a few more seconds, trying to turn those tissues on, get them revved up a bit. And now, keeping gas pedal up, start to lengthen those toes out and ask them to spread apart as much as you can. Dang! Hannah has some nice toe spread, okay? Yeah. Gnarly, bro. You're looking for that daylight between each and every toe. If you don't have it, that's fine, but it's something to keep looking for as we keep working on this. Let's do a second hold, so round those toes over. Feel those toes scrunching up, but now this time maybe even imagine that your midfoot is able to round over further, but you're still keeping your ankle dorsiflexed. So you're really rounding that whole foot into a kind of like you're trying to pick up a ball. Hold it for 5. Squeezing, asking for more from the pinky toe, more from the big toe, and then unfurl those toes, open them apart, and undo that midfoot rounding. So you're almost like trying to stretch out the bottom of your feet. All right. And now last one, I want you to try to get your whole body a bit more involved. So make those heels heavy, reinvigorate gas pedal up, and then start to round your toes and really scrunch up here. If it works for you, go ahead and reach your fists out too. And imagine that your feet and your fists are all doing the same thing. They're trying to squeeze up and scrunch up into a ball for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Great stuff. Okay, you can go ahead and just let your left leg kind of fall out to the side. We're going to focus in on the right leg. So for this one, yeah, bend that knee all the way to 90 degrees. And again, dig your heel into the floor, this time a little bit more actively. So you maybe feel some of that tissue on the back of your thigh turn on. And with the ankle and gas pedal up still, let's start just seeing how much rotation do you have available at your knee joint. Okay, so it turns out a rotation happy knee joint is really critical to surfing, specifically when you're in that squat position with that back leg trying to stay low on the board. You need your back knee to be comfortable with rotation, or else you can't get that low. Kind of a problem. Okay, so we're rotating here back and forth, and just check in when your shin turns out, that's external rotation. When your shin rotates in, you guessed it, it's internal rotation. Okay, so the next time you find yourself internally rotating that knee, go ahead and hold that, max it out, and then let your whole body move to bring that foot down to the floor. Boom. Yeah, You might have to do that a couple times just to really find it. But the goal here is that you have as much of that rotation maintained as you drop your ball of your foot to the ground. Good, and your knee has to drop as well. And then once you're there, go ahead and let your knee drop even a little bit further. All right, so what's available here is our knee is obviously an internally rotated position, but also we can get that ankle to be fully dorsiflexed as well, and we can notice that the outside of the foot is off the ground. We're going to try to keep this shape exactly the same here as we work on the knee. So make that ball of your foot even heavier. And then the motion, which is going to be very small for all of us, is going to be lifting that knee up and over only as far as you can without collapsing the outside of your foot to the ground. When you think you've got there, lower the knee back down and then keep going up and down for reps. I really encourage you to keep the motion small at first so that you can hunt for some specific sensations. What are we looking for? We're looking for contraction of tissue all the way on the inside of your lower leg to the inside of your knee and maybe even into the inside of your thigh. That's good stuff. You're also looking for some opening sensation on the outside of your knee or maybe even on the front and bottom of your knee joint. That will depend a little bit on the structure of your knee. Okay. As you keep going, if this is feeling like really impossible to feel, one kind of workaround we've found is to work your foot right up against a wall. So you'd have a wall here. That way, if the foot starts to drop, you will feel the wall right away. The other little detail you could add in for these last few seconds is ask your heel to get very light on the ground while the ball of your foot stays heavy. And this might crank up the intensity just a little bit. Good. Let your final rep be your best rep yet. Really feeling that rotation of your knee is what allows you to lift the knee joint and then relax it down. Awesome. Let that leg go. Let's do the same deal on the other side. Okay. So start with a 90-degree angle bend at that knee and start rotating your shin. There we go. Good. And what you'll notice here, even a 100% healthy and functional knee, you will have less internal rotation than you do external rotation. Usually about 10 to 15 degrees internal and about 30 to 35 degrees external. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm very limited in internal rotation, you're in good company with the rest of humanity.
You are human.
You are a human. Okay. So next time you wind that knee up into internal rotation, yeah, Hannah, would you just turn your body so that they can see that side? Cool. And then drop the ball of your foot, ankle, everything down to the floor. You could even like bend your other knee to get it out of the way, because what we really don't want is like to start too high. You would rather start too low, all right? And then once you really get low like that, check in on, okay, what muscles are going to keep that outside of the foot away from the floor? Keep those on, and then let's start some of these hinges, trying to lift your knee up without letting your foot drop and back down. It's going to be tiny, remember, because you get very little rotation even out of a very healthy knee joint. Most of us actually have a little less than 10 degrees, so it might be just a tiny lift of that knee joint. Each rep just trying to get a little bit more effective of the foot not moving, but the knee moving. Therefore, the motion is happening right from that tibial plateau where your tibia meets your femur bone.
Wow.
Good. Keep working on this 30 more seconds. Again, you're looking for contraction sensation down the whole inside line of your leg from the ankle bone all the way to the inner thigh. And maybe you're looking for some opening or stretching sensation on the outside of your knee. Those are dense, soft tissue structures. So it's not going to feel like a muscle stretch like you'd feel in your hamstrings or your calf. It's going to feel a little bit different. Last rep here. Good. And melt it away. Very nice. Okay. Just to note, you could do that same thing for external rotation, but for today, we're just trying it out for internal rotation. Let's go ahead and warm up the hips a little bit. So come on to hands and knees. And we're just going to start by bracing your hands into the floor and your right foot into the floor, because we're going to move that left leg first. And then start by bringing your left heel as high behind you as you can and just hold there for a second. Now, if you really go as far as you can, your back will probably move, which we don't want. So as you reach that heel up, take a moment to try to curl your tailbone under and see if you can find more contraction in the back of your hip. And then once you're happy with that degree of contraction, send your shin out to the side. Keep that knee high to the side as you bring your knee forward, trying to reach your knee towards your armpit, but not letting your tailbone curl under. And then touch the knees together. And let's reverse course for a little tick-tock action. Back and forth, breathing around your braced midsection and keeping all the points of contact stable with the floor, moving at your own pace for 35 more seconds. Each angle, asking yourself, can I pull my leg a little bit further into this range while my back stays still? Especially if that's new for you, you might have to actually pause at some of these positions to answer that question for yourself. It's not like a slam dunk to know that. 10 seconds, team. 3, 2, 1, and relax. All right, anywhere that you find yourself, shake it out. Okay, and here we go. We're gonna do the right leg now for a hip car and quadruped. So cement your body down. And as you lift this right leg, notice if there's any change in your body from losing that support and see if you can get it back. And then as you lift that heel, start to tune into your lower back, staying still. And now let's start moving. Reaching that shin out to the side, reaching your knee towards your armpit and then towards your chest to feel your hip crease tissue really turn on. When your knees touch, reverse course, and we're gonna tick-tock through this hip car. Now, always when you're doing these cars, the more important part is the part of your body that's not moving. So if you really are being honest about locking your hip down, keeping your legs and your arms engaged, you might be surprised or maybe humbled by how little motion you get out of the hip. That is okay. You're allowed. Because what you're really working on is creating independent motion of that hip joint no matter the size. Okay? 15 seconds more. Tuning in to the sensations your body is offering you, going slow enough to stay aware. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Awesome. Okay, now let's finish our warm-up for our upper body. Go ahead and lay down on your back here. And Hannah, maybe you go heads up towards the camera. Yeah, that'll be great. And then we're gonna work on these shoulder rotations from a position you might be familiar with that's sort of like a Turkish get-up. So to feel that, you're gonna be working with your right arm straight up to the ceiling, your right leg's gonna stay bent, and your left leg is gonna go straight. And then your left arm can go out to the side, smack your business partner if you'd like, okay? And then from here, I want you to just roll over onto the side of your body. And just if you need to move that left arm either more overhead or even bend it to be under your head, you can do that just like that. Yep, that works great. And then lay down back onto your back. Okay, so that's the position we're going to be working on in a second. But before you go, I want you to just create a little bit more brace through your midsection. So take a breath in and then blow all the air out like you're blowing out birthday candles. Keep blowing it out. Feel that midsection engage. And then keep that engagement as you breathe normally and roll onto your side. Yes, feeling your whole torso roll as one. You can blow out again anytime you need to re-engage that midsection. And we're going to be working on this top arm, externally rotating the whole cylinder of your arm. And then as you internally rotate, keep your torso still. Good. So you're just twisting at that glenohumeral joint where your arm bone meets your torso. Wringing out as much twist as you can. Good. Making it muscular. And if you ever feel like you're just laying there, help yourself to a full exhale. Blow out some more birthday candles and make sure you're still connecting your ribs to your pelvis. Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead, lay down on your back. Let's switch sides. Okay, so the other leg bends, your right leg straight, your right arm is out to the side or going under your head, and then blow all that air out of your midsection. Keep that engagement and roll onto your side. Okay. Now, one nice piece this position allows us is to really reach towards the ceiling with that reaching arm. So it's very active, like you're trying to punch into a target. And then keep that effort as you start rotating the glenohumeral joint, twisting, wringing out rotation. Great. Good. Trying to find a little bit more in each direction and getting help for those shoulder tissues with braced midsection. Again, whenever you need to, fully exhale, blow out those birthday candles, and then keep that engagement. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. Okay, so we got all the little pieces warmed up, checked in on, and now we're going to come up to standing to get our first conditioning set. Now, as I mentioned, if you're going to go surfing, you are going to try to jump into a squat, which is a demanding position. So we want to spend a little training time here really trying to improve our squat. So let's start by just feeling a nice active pull into the bottom of your squat and coming out of your squat. So step your feet about hip or shoulder width apart. Turn those toes out just a little bit. And keep in mind that you're always free to reset your feet if you feel like you'd like them a little wider, a little narrower. You'd like those toes out a little bit more or less. All right. Once you feel like you have a good foot placement, reach your fists out in front of you to indicate to yourself that you're really on tension in your upper body. And then start to pull yourself down into the bottom of your squat. As you do, really sensing into your feet, especially your heels, to make sure they stay on the ground, no matter how low you get, and then actively drive yourself back out. Okay, now Hannah is a coach and has very healthy joints, so she gets to a nice deep squat. You might have gotten halfway as deep, and that's okay. That's the end range where you're working today, all right? For this set, we're gonna try to feel the tissue on the front of your hip, that shortens as you pull yourself to the bottom. And then you're gonna try to feel the tissue on the back of your hip, AKA your butt, to drive yourself back up out of that squat. All right, so just watch one rep because once we start, it's gonna be quite intense. So fist squeezed, Hannah's gonna pull all the way to the bottom position. And as she does, she's looking for the contraction on the front of the hip while her feet stay flat. Once she gets to her end range, she's gonna feel her glutes, her back of hip tissue turn on to drive her halfway up and then pull with the front of her hip back down. Like she's trying to pull her belly to her thigh. And then back up. Yeah, and go ahead, come all the way up now, Hannah.
Woo!
Yeah, okay. So very intense. So we're just gonna do 30-second sets. You're gonna move at your pace, just making sure to feel the front of your hip on the way down and feel the back of your hip on the way up. All right, here we go. Brace your torso. Sense into those feet, and then pull your hips as low to the floor as you can, using the tissue on the front of your body, thigh to belly. Then pause there, sense your heels, sense your glutes, and drive yourself only halfway up. Pause, feel the front of your hip, pull yourself down, maybe 1% deeper this time, and then feel those feet to push yourself back up. 10 seconds, folks. Keep moving at your pace, feeling that burn, feeling that contraction in specific areas. Pull yourself down, one final rep, and then keep your chest proud and drive yourself all the way up tall. Bueno. Awesome. Kind of shake it out. Okay. Say we do one more little taste test here before we move on. So shake it. Again, feel free to adjust your feet. Probably if your toes are pointing like almost all the way out to the side, yeah, like ballerina style, that's a little too far. Now we're doing something that looks like a squat but is actually pretty different from a squat. So make sure that when those knees bend, they're roughly bending over your toes. That's a good way to kind of gauge that. All right, so here we go. 30 more seconds of fun. Brace those hands, reaching fists out in front of you. Sense into your feet, and then start pulling yourself down into the bottom position of your squat. The lower you go, the more you're thinking, trying to pull thigh to belly and belly to thigh. When you get to that bottom, feel your glutes turn on and use those glutes to drive yourself up halfway and then pull yourself back down. Good. For this set, I invite you to let that motion up be even smaller. So we're really working right at your end range, pulling yourself to your bottom position, driving yourself up just a little bit out of that position. Good. 11 seconds, folks. Keeping those feet on board in your computer, in your brain. 3, 2, 1, and all the way up. Very good work. All right, let's give those a rest. You can stay standing if you'd like. I'm just going to have Hannah come into tall kneeling so that we have a little bit of a better view for you. So whether you're standing or tall kneeling for this next one, we want that position so that you can really feel active glute squeeze. Really squeeze your butt here to make sure your pelvis stays still. And this will help us now work on our shoulders, okay? So maybe I'll have you turn around. Yeah, okay. So we're going to be working both shoulders at the same time here. And we're going to learn this one from upright on this round. And then when we come back, we'll do it face down, make it a little harder. Start with your hands in fists, touching your knuckles together right around your tailbone. It might be more on your glute tissue, or it might be more in your lower back. But we want to just find the highest position you can with your knuckles that still allows you to get your chest open. Yeah, so you can see Hannah kind of pulls her shoulder blades together, opens her chest up, and then that's where she feels, okay, that's where the knuckles need to go. Okay, this is going to be our start and finish position. Now from here, take a big breath into your midsection and brace. Add that to the squeeze of your butt that you feel. And then open your chest up any more that you can. Add to that lifting your elbows behind you as much as you can. And then keep those points still as you make your knuckles light on the back of your hips. Then straighten your arms smoothly. Then keeping your chest open, start to externally rotate both arms and reach behind you. So it's like we're doing 2 cars at the same time. Keep externally rotating until you're at a Y and pause. Then in this Y, start to bend your elbows and try to bring your knuckles together behind your head. Okay, anywhere behind your head is fine. Then park them there for a second so that we can again check, are the glutes squeezed, are the abs braced, and are the elbows as far back as we can get them. Once they're there, keep them there. Make the fists light off the back of your head. Then keeping your upper body still, straighten your elbows. Get to that Y, start to internally rotate to access that space behind your body. Keep internally rotating until you're about in that upside down Y. Pause there. Keep the elbows back as you bend them, bringing your knuckles together where we started, and then relax. Bueno. Okay, so this is definitely a progression from just our normal shoulder cars or scapular work or elbow work. We're kind of putting all the pieces together. We're gonna keep working for 1 minute, just going back and forth. You might get 1 rep in at that time or a few, but just kind of follow along, get that as much of that tissue or those cues that I throw out there as possible, and it'll get better on repetition. Okay, so knuckles together, open your chest, pull those elbows back. Keep those elbows as you lift your knuckles, and then straighten your elbows. Constantly trying to reach your hands back as far as you can. Start to externally rotate and sweep around, constantly trying to bring your arms further behind you. When you get to the Y shape overhead, pause, bend your elbows, keeping those elbows back as your knuckles come together behind your head. Good. Check in on your abs and your glutes. Reach your elbows back further. Straighten your arms out. Good. And then start to internally rotate the shoulders to reach behind you. Keep internally rotating to that upside down Y. Pause. Bend your elbows as your chest stays open. Good. Let's stay on tension here. Don't let those fists rest. Just go straight out to straight. Externally rotate to open. Pulling your shoulder blades together, pulling those arms behind you. Good. All the way to a Y overhead. And keep those elbows as far back as you can as you bend your arms. Good. Always find a stop off here if you need to reset your body, but we'll keep moving with elbows back, straightening them out. Start to internally rotate to reach back behind. Reaching, reaching, reaching as you really wind out internal rotation. And then keep your chest open to bend your elbows, bring your knuckles together, and relax. Awesome. Okay, so quite a bit of activity for the whole shoulder and upper back tissue, maybe even some cramping in your tricep. That's pretty common. Let's go ahead and come up to standing now, and here's where we're going to utilize the towel. So just stretching that towel out flat on the ground. You can start by standing on that towel about hip width apart with your feet, and make sure you're standing on one end of it, okay? Because we're going to kind of bunch up that towel. We want to pull it towards us, okay? So starting here, sense into your feet again and really feel your heels on the ground and feel the outside ball of your foot, if you will, as well as the inside ball of your foot in contact with the ground. And then lift all your toes up without losing those points of contact, best as you can, okay? Now this drill is going to be flexing only your toes to pull the towel in without losing those points of contact in your forefoot, on the ball of your foot, all right? So crunch down, grab some towel with your toes, and then when you can't pull it in anymore, lift the toes up, try to reach out for a little bit more. Yeah, good, and then pull it in. Good. And then reach out. It's going to be very tempting to lift that ball of your foot up off the ground. For now, we're not going to let it happen. Good. As you go, if you end up getting too much material under your towel, you could always just step forward and keep working, or you could just straighten it out. I'm going to help Hannah out here and flatten out the towel. Keep working. Really trying to feel only the toes. Good. There we go. Getting it.
My butt's cramping, but it's fine.
Yeah, the rest of your body is going to try to help. That's a good thing. All right, really make sure the big toe is working, but also see if, can you get the little toe to get involved? What about the fourth toe or the third toe? Yes. Good. Last 10 seconds. Nice. Very nice. Good. And shake it out. Now, I know, we know that if you had let the ball of your foot come up, you would be able to grab more towel, but that's not the point. The point is to get a little bit of training for just the toes, okay? Let's go ahead and get this out of the way for now. We'll come back for some towel and come back into your squat position, okay? So finding that wide stance for your squat that you had. Okay, this time we're going to do some work from the bottom position of your squat. So again, watch first just to see, and I'm going to have you turn about 45 degrees. So this is where we really get specific to what those knees have to do on a surfboard. All right, so really gripping the ground with your feet, sensing into your heels, brace your upper body and pull yourself to the bottom. In just a second, you'll get into this with us. For now, you're just watching. Okay, and then keeping your heels nice and heavy, reach your knees as wide apart as you can, and then keep your left knee wide. You'll drop your right knee in towards your midline as close as you can before bringing it out, and then that left side in as close as you can before bringing it out, and then come all the way back up. Okay, so you'll do this with us in just a second. One thing to notice is that as you're working that dropping knee, you're going to let that side ankle roll, okay? So you don't have to keep that foot flat. The leg you're still standing on, you do want to keep that flat and stable, okay? So go ahead, join us here. We're just going to do 2 20-second sets of this, so pretty high intensity. Brace your upper body. Pull yourself into that bottom position, keeping your heels very firm on the ground, and then drive your knees out to set up. Keep those knees wide. Drop just your right in towards your midline only as far as you can, and then out wide, sitting into your heels. Drop the other side in. Breathing around a working body. 10 seconds. Good. Keeping those heels heavy. Keep sensing into them for 3, 2, 1. Drive yourself up.
Woo!
Nice. Shake it out.
Okay.
There you go.
That's no joke.
Strength training. All right. Again, you might be working, you know, what we'd say a quarter squat partway down into this, and this drill works just as well from there as well. You want to make sure you're not in like high alert panic mode while you're trying to do this, because that's not that effective. All right. So on the second set, brace and feel into your heels, and then pull yourself to your bottom position where you really feel like you can get some good work in. And then once you've parked it there, drive those knees wide. Keep one knee still as you drop the other knee in. And then bring it out. Other knee, drop it in. Bring it out. You might let your heel come off the ground like Hannah's showing, or you might try to drop that whole inside of your foot towards the floor. Totally up to you. Both work well. Give me 5 more seconds here, team. The non-moving knee is reaching out wide. 2, 1, and stand all the way up. Nice job, okay? So now let's go ahead and we're gonna get our second set of our swimmer in. This is where you're gonna want a little of that towel support underneath your forehead. All right, so now we're gonna get our second set of swimmers. Now from a face down position with that towel as a little pillow underneath your forehead. Now, if for whatever reason this doesn't feel good, or maybe the motion as you get started doesn't really make sense in your shoulders and upper back, feel free to do this set again from upright, but we're gonna demonstrate it from this prone position, which asks the arms to do a little bit more against gravity. So with the forehead supported, take a second and just tuck your chin a little bit so that you're not extending your neck, and then find those knuckles together at the same or similar spot as you had before. And then open your chest up so your shoulder blades come together, your elbows lift behind you, and take a note here that you're going to try to keep your chest very heavy into the ground the whole time. Keeping that, lift those elbows any higher, levitate your wrists off your hips, and then keep your elbows as you straighten your arms. Start to externally rotate, and keep externally rotating to reach arms away from the floor up into a Y shape as best as you can find. Once you're there, pause, keep the elbows lifted and bend your arms, bringing your hands behind your head, trying to bring knuckles together just as needed, and then lift those elbows up higher, straighten the arms out. Good, and then keep that lift as you start to internally rotate, sweeping your arms behind you, keeping the chest heavy. Pause in an upside down Y and bend your elbows to bring knuckles together. Good. Take a breath here for a moment, let everything relax. So again, this is a lot more intensity than the upright version because gravity is trying to collapse your arms to the floor. So we'll take a break in between each rep. Keep the chest heavy. Let's do our second one. Shoulder blades pull together. Elbows lift up. Good. Then keep the elbows lifted as you lift your arms. Straighten those elbows. Keep the straight arms lifted as you start to externally rotate, opening your chest to the floor, bringing the arms up into that Y shape, keeping your elbows as high as you can as you start to bend them, hunting for knuckles touching knuckles behind your head. Good, and then keep those elbows lifted as you straighten your arm, internally rotate, try to ask the chest to get heavier and the hands to get higher. When you're in that upside down Y, pause and bend your elbows, knuckles together, and then you relax. Great. Take a breath. We're going to do one final rep here. Okay, just kind of run through in your head. Which angles or positions felt weird for you? Which ones do you think you could make 1% better on this next one? Okay, you can't make everything better, so you're just going to pick 1 or 2 points that you're really going to try to improve. Maybe it's keeping your chest heavier. All right, here we go. Knuckles together, shoulder blades together, elbows up high. Really engage the tissue on the back of your armpit, and then keep that on as you lift your fists. Straighten your arms. Externally rotate your shoulders. Bringing those straight arms around, keeping your chest heavy. Pause when you get to a Y and just bend the elbows. Good. Bringing the knuckles as close together as you can. Elbows stay lifted and straighten the arms. Keeping those straight arms, start to internally rotate. Find that upside down Y, and then really heavy chest as you bend your elbows so you don't let those shoulder blades come apart. Knuckles together and relax. Zao. Very spicy way to train both shoulders at once. Let that go. Come up to standing, and let's stretch out this towel one final time. Kind of build on that work we were doing before for the toes. All right. Okay, so same as before, you can now step in the middle of your towel if you'd like, because we're not going to be really moving the towel. We're just going to use the towel as sort of a non-moving object. So start by sensing into those points of contact, heels, both balls of the foot, the inside and the outside. Really connect those points. And then lift the toes without losing those points of contact on your feet. Curl the toes around to grab some towel and really scrunch the towel this time. And then try to stretch the towel apart like you're pulling your toes or your feet apart. Yeah, and the feet might actually move a little bit. We're trying to ask those toe flexors that are holding the towel to work a little bit harder. So it's okay if the ankles actually rotate a little bit here. Find the most amount of stretch apart as you can for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Melt it away. Good. Yeah, set your feet back up. If you need to kind of flatten the towel out at all, you can. Okay, we're going to do that just 2 more times. And I really want to encourage you to find like a maximum contraction. It's not something we really do with our toes very much. Okay, so again, points of contact. Lift those toes. Grab as much material as you can. Then holding onto that material, stretch the towel out laterally, out to the side. And really create that demand on your toes. Can you scrunch those toes up anymore? Can you use that to stretch the towel out like you're trying to rip the towel between your feet for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good, let that go. Final one here. Good. And lift the toes. Grab that towel material, scrunch it up, get a nice strong grab, because you know what you need to do now. Stretch that towel apart, try to rip it down the middle. Really engage that. Imagine this was a piece of paper that you could actually rip. How much effort would you send through your feet, ankles, knees, hips, upper body? What would it take to rip that paper? 3, 2, 1. And relax. Awesome job. Okay. Thanks so much for joining us for this part 2 of Surf's Up. We'd love to hear any questions that come up, especially from some of these higher intensity, sort of more complex motions. They can sort of be like, wait, what'd you say? So as always, let us know questions. And thanks so much for watching.